What's up, dudes? Welcome to another episode of All Things Geek. My name is Cam.
And my name is Tom. And today we're going to be talking to you about all things Nintendo.
What better way than right now to talk about with the Switch coming out in the next couple of days?
That's right, Cam. The Switch is coming out on March 3rd. It's actually really close.
Pretty exciting if you ask me.
It is actually exciting. But you know what? Let's talk about the Switch a little bit later. Let's first talk a little bit about the history of Nintendo. Do you know anything about Nintendo?
Just like Jon Snow, I know nothing.
Oh yeah? Well, I did a little bit of research, and I think it's actually really cool because Nintendo's a lot older than a lot of people probably think. They were founded September 23rd, 1889 in Kyoto, Japan.
Huh. I did not know that.
1889.
That's pretty old, man.
It's like ancient.
I actually thought these guys would have been like 60s, give or take.
Well, that's what everybody thinks, right? Because they think of Nintendo as that company that sells video games.
And just pretty modern.
Yeah, but when they started out, they didn't do anything like that. They actually were selling playing cards.
In what regards, playing cards?
Like, like Big Two and shit like that.
You know, that makes sense. We're Asians, we love to gamble.
Yeah, totally. I bet you that's what they thought, when they were making these. They're like, let's target, this market of gamblers.
Yeah.
But I guess it didn't work out for them because they quickly started switching to selling a lot of different other things.
Such as?
They at one point branched out into selling home appliances.
Really?
Yeah, like washers, dryers, things like that.
No way.
They even had a taxi service.
That would be awesome, just to get putting a coin and just hear that ding.
Yeah, imagine like a red cab and like some Italian is like, "Hey, it's me, Mario. Come on into my cab, man." It makes sense.
It does make sense. What else have they done?
This one's actually really out there. Like, you won't even believe it. And I kid you not, this is true. They had a line of love hotels.
Really?
Yeah, like, not regular hotels. Literally hotels where you went to have sex.
That is a thing?
Yes.
Huh.
This is a Nintendo... Like, that's probably where they coined the phrase one-up. You know what I mean?
Wow. And also, for a quick power-up.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, and it wasn't until about 1985 when they decided to make their first video game system.
Didn't Nintendo essentially save the video game market?
Well, yeah, the video game market was pretty popular in the early 70s, and then it just wasn't doing well, mainly due to how unaffordable the systems were, and the technology wasn't really advancing at a really quick pace. So Nintendo kind of came in and saved the day because that's the day they released the Nintendo Entertainment System, the first video game system I ever owned.
The NES, huh? For short?
The NES. Did you have an NES, Cam?
I did have an NES. Shared it with my older brother.
I remember Christmas morning as a kid. You know when you like beg for something all year and you're really hoping for it? So I remember running downstairs, going under the Christmas tree, picking up this giant box, and just tearing open the wrapping paper and seeing those magic words, NES. I was the happiest kid in the world.
Must have been the most amazing moment of your life.
You don't even know. I think to this day is probably still the best day of my life because, dude, the feels, you know what I'm saying?
Of course. Did you get the bundle with the Duck Hunt?
Hell yeah. I think at that time that was like the only bundle. Probably not though, because I know they released other ones later on, but I think when I got mine, like that was the main thing. Got the little light gun and everything. I remember just like shooting my parents with it because I'm fucking awesome, right? Just like pew 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 to everybody. But it was really funny because like I played the crap out of it that night, and I remember like when it was time for bed, I was sent to bed. I'm trying to sleep, and all I hear coming from the other room was like I literally remember waking up and being like, "Mom, are you playing my Nintendo?" And she's like, "No, go back to sleep." But she totally was. And that's the really cool thing about video games back then. Like, they were so new that just everybody wanted to play them.
It did cater to everybody.
Yeah, well, whether it did or not, like, it was just such a cool new thing, Especially with the NES, because the games were, like, a lot more advanced than, like, their Atari predecessors,
Yeah, of course, because the Pong was just very limited to what they had, and then this was just really fun, and then a whole new way to play as a single player, and just revolutionize, as you said.
Yeah, it totally did revolutionize the video game industry. Like, what about you, man? When you first got your NES, do you remember, like, how it felt?
Oh, it felt amazing, but the only things I remember more were the bumps and bruises fighting over it with my older brother.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I was the only child, so I didn't have to fight for the controller. Let me guess, player 2?
Player 2, man. And just like you, I'd be sent off to sleep in a room over. My older brother's playing it, so he was able to get away with it, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mom didn't, be like, "Hey, it's Cam's turn."
No, parents did not intervene at all. Kids are playing their video games. They're happy. Who cares? Leave them alone.
So it was like, video game deathmatch every day.
I also have a story where I tried to involve my parents with my love of video games.
Oh, yeah? Do tell.
Remember that story where you playfully shot the zapper at your mom?
I remember.
Oh, well, I tried doing that with my father, and I was met with a big, swift...
Wait. He hit you?
Oh, yeah. And he was, why you shoot me with gun?
Wait. He hit you, like hard?
Oh, he did not held back.
Did it leave a mark?
Oh, yes.
Dude, why is your family so violent?
There's a reason why I'm scared of everything.
Oh my god, it all makes sense now. You were an abused child.
Yes, I was. So enough about the bad memories. Let's talk about some good memories. Tom, what are your top 3 favorite retro games?
Retro games, eh? That's a subject I really like to talk about. I don't know, man. I like a lot of retro games. My top 3 have got to be, starting at number 3, the Mega Man series. Specifically, Mega Man X. Loved those games growing up, mainly because I found the level so intuitive and fun. Also, the music was fantastic. Probably some of the best music in any video game series. Number 2... Final Fantasy III for Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy VI in Japan. That game was the game that saved the RPG in the Western market. Up until then, RPGs weren't really selling well, and Nintendo was thinking of not really releasing any here. Until Final Fantasy III, that game sold a shit ton, mainly because it had a great story and some awesome characters. And thankfully, it did sell a lot because that leads to my favorite game of all time. Not just favorite retro game, but my number 1 game ever.
Wait for it.
Chrono Trigger. I know Chrono Trigger. Everybody's like, of course, but no. I remember playing that game when it first came out, and I fell in love. That game has everything: beautiful sprites, great colorful graphics. Amazing characters, art from the legendary
Akira Toriyama, Mr. Dragon Ball himself.
And some of the greatest stories ever told in a video game. How can you go wrong? And that game, I think, will always be my number 1. What about you, man? What about your 3 favorite games?
Number 3, we're going to go with Kirby Adventures for the NES. That was my first adventure game on my own. I didn't have to share with my brother. It was so live. It was so colorful. It was beautiful. It was very fun. It was different from Mario, which was a big thing in my opinion. Number 2, Super Mario RPG, Legend of the 7 Stars. That was my favorite and first RPG ever. Very underrated in comparison to Final Fantasy 6, 3. It was very different as opposed to like a 2D platformer. We got an RPG. So I thought that was really cool.
That was definitely a great game. I remember playing Super Mario RPG as well.
Remember how it's always Mario versus Bowser saving Peach? Nah, this time we actually got to have all 3 fight together.
Not only that, it was a lot different from the RPGs at the time, which made it stand out a lot. What about number 1, Cam? Drum roll.
Number 1, Vanilla Street Fighter 2.
Like, not the turbo version?
Nope, Vanilla, baby. The original.
The one where pretty much you beat the game by going Hadouken.
Yep, that's it. The one game you can spam Hadoukens. That game was the one that's taught me how to do Hadoukens because I'm in the FGC, fighting game community, and that pretty much launched my quote-unquote career into that fighting game community, and it's stuck with me since then.
Well, yeah, because fighting games are essentially your favorite genre right now.
They are, to this day. All types of fighting games to this day. So that's about it, man.
Awesome, man. So I can totally see those being your favorite games, Cam, especially Kirby. I've seen your love to eat, and I'm sure other people can see your love for eat, if you know what I mean.
Of course, man, of course.
But speaking of that, like, do you have any of those games still lying around from when you were a kid?
Unfortunately not, man. My parents gave them away thinking, oh, you have a new system, you have no use for these old games anymore.
What a tragedy. Actually, it's really sad because that's what happened to a lot of people who are in our boat. A lot of, like, older gamers, unfortunately, just either sold or gave away their old games thinking, you know, out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah, of course.
Thankfully, I kept my games.
Yeah.
As you know, I have a little retro collection that I keep adding to because personally, I love old games. I like retro games a lot more than I like the newer games. I find that they're more of a complete game and they have a ton more replayability to them. I can sit there all night and play Mega Man 1 to like X3. And I can't really do that with a lot of PlayStation games nowadays. So I don't regret it. I love my retro collection. Have you ever thought about kind of picking up some of your older games, like maybe getting back into your childhood, hitting up the nostalgia?
Unfortunately, I can't, because with the way how the market is these days, I'm not comfortable paying $80 to $100 for a cartridge of my childhood, whereas it costs as much as a new game these days. I know the internet's going to bite me with that, but that's just how I feel about it, man.
You know what? You have a point. Like, could you imagine? I remember when I started collecting retro games and kind of picking up those games that I always wanted to play when I was a kid. They definitely weren't the prices that you're seeing now. It's kind of like in the past 3-4 years, they've doubled and tripled in price. Like, why do you think that is? Like, some of the prices for games nowadays are ridiculous.
They are, man. It's just because a lot of people are thinking the same way as us, but has actually taken that step forward to buy these, and because of the way how the demand is, people can bank off these prices and be like, you know what, if this guy's willing to pay that much, why not that guy's willing to pay that much?
And that's where I'm conflicted. You see, the collector in me is kind of hyped that, you know, some of the rare games that I have are going up in value and that my investment didn't go to waste. But the gamer in me is sad because the games I don't have yet, the games that I've been dying to play since I was a kid, are going to keep getting harder and harder to get. And, you know, I really don't know where I stand with all of that. Like, I guess I kind of gonna lean more towards the gamer because, honestly, I think enjoying these old games, which are pretty much like antiques nowadays, is more important than sitting on something that you don't want to play because you're afraid you're going to damage it and affect its value. Let's face it, as cool as ROMs are, and they give you the experience of the game itself, it doesn't have the same feeling as picking up that old cartridge, blowing the dust out of it hundreds of times and shoving it into your system trying to get it to work.
Ha! Phrasing.
Seriously, right? That, honestly, is part of the whole experience of, you know, just reliving your childhood.
Speaking of pricey and hard to find, the Nintendo Switch.
The Nintendo fucking Switch. Nintendo's brand new system that, if you haven't pre-ordered, chances of getting it on release are slim to none. That thing is sold out everywhere.
It's kind of bullshit how that's a recurring thing with Nintendo, man.
Totally. Do you remember Amiibos?
Yeah?
I remember when Amiibos first came out, I was like, dude, this is so cool. They're like these cool little collectible figures / interactive toys, and I wanted to collect them all. Problem is, certain of the cooler characters, Nintendo decided to send only 2 or 3 to each store. So if you didn't want to wake up early in the morning and go line up, chances of you getting them at the beginning were slim to none. You weren't getting them. Trust me. You wanted them, you had to go online and pay 2-3 times the price for these fucking toys. And you know what? Eventually, Nintendo did release enough to sustain markets and totally kill the collectability of them, which is totally fine by me. But it doesn't change the fact that if you wanted to play them when Smash Bros. First came out or Mario Party first came out, you had to pay sometimes $80 for a specific figure. And that's ridiculous.
That is, man. I remember trying to find a Charizard, my favorite Pokemon. I couldn't find that bastard for like over a month, give or take.
I know, and it didn't stop there. Did you try to find a Nintendo Classic Mini?
Yes, I did. I went to 3-4 different stores. Nothing. Nowhere. The only place I was able to find it was on eBay. Give or take, bidding 3 times the price. I didn't want any of that.
That's the problem, right? Even if these things aren't exactly super rare, stores weren't getting enough stock, so random assholes would go in, buy all the stock, and decide to sell them for 3-4 times the price. How are you going to buy your kids something that costs $80 MSRP, but, you know, you have to go online and pay $200-300 for? It's ridiculous, and Nintendo should have anticipated that because it's not the first time, and, you know, they should have restocked a lot more constant.
Yeah, man. This would have been a perfect opportunity for me to rebuild a childhood with this alone.
It was supposed to be nostalgic for older players and a way for, you know, classic video game fans like us to introduce these beautiful games to our children, and they kind of fucked that up, in my opinion.
Well, hopefully they don't fuck up with the Switch, man, because this might be Nintendo's last chance in the console market. Let's face it, man, the Wii U was a failure.
You know, this might surprise a lot of people, but I actually like the Wii U.
Go on.
I thought it was a pretty decent system, and I really enjoyed a lot of games that they had. They had a lot of hidden gems.
I respect that.
But that doesn't change the fact that it was literally a big flop for Nintendo, not only in the console market, but in the stock market. Like, Nintendo stock dropped significantly due to the lack of success of the Wii U. And, that might have been a blessing in disguise, because it did let Nintendo branch off into like other markets that they may not have, tried if the Wii U was successful, because Nintendo, if some people aren't familiar with, have started developing games for the cell phone market, because as much as us hardcore gamers want to deny it, cell phone gaming is really popular and it makes a lot of money. So it's kind of cool to see that Nintendo has started making cell phone games. They started off with their social media app called Miimoto. They released Super Mario Run, which is a lot of fun. They recently released Pokemon Duel, which is really, really addictive. And let's not forget the granddaddy of all cell phone games, Pokemon Go.
I don't think I ever walked that much in my life, man. People were complimenting me how thin I looked. I was just trying to catch that damn Dragonite.
So that's why you lost weight?
Yeah, man.
Playing Pokemon Go?
Yep.
Tell me about it, man. Honestly, that 1 month and a little bit where everybody was out playing that game was probably some of the happiest times in any gamer's life. Like, instead of wishing each other cancer or kill themselves, people were like, "Hi, how are you? My name is this. Where are you from? You live in the area. You know where this fucking Charizard is,
Team Valor, Team Instinct. Which one are you, bro?
People were literally bonding over cartoon characters of different badge colors. It's crazy how popular that game was. It did die down a little, but hopefully it's because it's winter, because I would love to see the game pick up again when summer hits. They have a lot of new updates, and the game itself is just great at bringing people together.
Well, here's hoping the Switch would share the same success as Pokemon Go, because it would be sad to see if Nintendo ended up the same route as Sega.
Thankfully, I don't see that happening. The Nintendo Switch actually looks very promising. It's a really innovative new system in less gimmicky ways than we're used to from Nintendo, because it's the first system that's not only portable but can also be used as a home console, and that to me is really, really cool. You can literally game anywhere, and the battery life is relatively decent too. It's supposed to last for about 3 hours, and one of the coolest features is that, let's say your battery is about to die, it auto-saves. How fucking awesome is that?
That is actually pretty cool, man. What if you're on a pooper, though? What happens then?
That's right, man. Let's say you're taking a dump and your battery's about to die. Instead of, doing what we all do, frantically searching for toilet paper so we can wipe our butts fast enough to, run out and save the game, we can just let it go. Let it go, man. Don't even have to worry. Enjoy the poop. Doesn't matter, because it's going to save.
Speaking of letting go, I'm going to be letting go of my money and picking up a Switch. And I think you all should too.
I agree 100%, because the new Zelda game looks awesome.
That's going to be the main reason I'm actually going to be picking up the Switch.
Same with me, man. That's literally the game that's going to get me hooked back on the Nintendo train. And you know what? Let's leave it at that, man. So, thanks for tuning in.
Take care of yourselves, everybody.
Peace.